Hey everyone, it's Lady T, and my apologies for taking a couple weeks off. 2025 hasn't exactly gotten off to a good start. As a matter of fact, it actually started off with a tragedy. I was in the middle of telling my life story in series, and I was leading up to the day when my daddy went to the hospital where he took his last breath. And that's when I got the news about someone I've known since Skyway. Now, all of us kids growing up in the South End of Seattle, we come across one another in some kind of way somewhere, whether it be in a community center or sports, daycare, etc., etc., etc. Some of us have known each other, most likely pretty much all of our lives, and we just don't even know it. Many that I recall I've known since elementary school, but most who I've stayed in contact with, I've met since high school, and that's when I met Jonathan Gant. While John and I may have met in high school, we didn't start becoming cool pretty much until our 20s. And when we were in our 30s, that's when we became bros. Now, for the past 2 years and some change, John was actually living life in Southeast Asia. I was actually kind of living my life vicariously through him and his adventures over there. I mean, I love seeing him explore these countries. I love watching all of his stories and his photos and videos and stuff like that. I mean, it was like he was always his happiest when he was exploring new places. I don't know. But let me tell you something about John, like how I know him. John was different. He was a different type of guy. Obviously, in some ways we disagree. But something I discovered over the past few years or so is that he and I are very, very similar in personalities. The main difference, though, is that he's a man and I'm a woman. And being and thinking differently has always been socially acceptable for men, but not for a woman. But anyway, John was an amazing person once you get to know him. A huge supporter for so many people. In some ways, he was sort of the glue to so many friendships and business relationships. A huge influence in the Seattle hip-hop scene, a philanthropist, and a traveler. Everybody knows that about him. Behind the scenes, he was an amazing friend, a great guy, and he had a big heart. He was a co-designer and co-owner of one of my favorite clothing lines, Concept Plus Customs. I'm sure y'all have seen me wear their clothes in so many of my photos, especially back then. I used to sport them all the time. Actually, I still do. Now, I don't know if he knew this, actually. I don't know if he really knew this, but he was great at bringing people together. Him and Katoya were the masters at this. I graduated in 2001. They graduated in 2002. Unfortunately, our 20-year anniversary happened during a time of peak of COVID. So there wasn't really any way that we was going to be able to have a reunion. And quite frankly, nobody really wanted to spend time and resources doing it anyway. So it just wasn't going to happen for us. But 2002, they basically put everything together. So I'm really trying to think. I believe in the past few years, they threw 3 reunions. I believe the first one was in 2017, and they graciously had multiple classes partake in their reunions. They opened it up to quite a few of our classes. I don't remember what years they opened it up to, but either way, they allowed us to join in on these reunions. So I just remember that it was kind of a 15-year reunion that was inspired by another death in the Skyway family. His name was Nelson. And his passing away was kind of sort of a wake-up call and a shock to the community. And it was just kind of a realization that we're not getting any younger. So John and Katoya threw a reunion and invited all of us to join. And it was okay. So hold on, they threw another one in 2019 and they call it the Hennyween. I know. But it was a Halloween party and most of us had our Halloween costumes on. It was a great night. But honestly, I wasn't even gonna go to that one because, I mean, the last one was cool, but I had my complaints. So when John and I were talking, like, first of all, the first one had nothing but Hennessy, sorry. I hate Hennessy. Hennessy is disgusting. And that was all they had at the bar. Don't get me wrong, I had a couple of drinks. I mean, I'm gonna make my money's worth, you know what I mean? But I did not enjoy it at all. The alcohol eventually run out. Oh, and plus they didn't even have any chasers. I just realized they didn't have any chasers. Like, if I'm gonna have some Henny, could you at least give me some Pepsi or some Coke or something? No, they didn't have no orange juice, no Sprite, no nothing. I mean, or maybe they did have Sprite. I don't remember. I just remember they didn't have any chasers. So all they had was straight up alcohol. I never drink my alcohol straight up. I was like, come on now. So I'm telling him all of this and he was like, fine, we'll have other drinks and chasers and all that stuff. You happy? I was like, yeah, I'm happy. And if that's the case, then I'll go. But man, did I have a great time from the moments that I did remember. I'll admit, I didn't black out, but I browned out, if you understand what that means. I remember parts of that night, but I don't remember a lot after the third or fourth tequila shot. I think there was like even a Jello shot involved. And I normally don't drink like that, but people kept asking me to join in on their toast. And I think I had like 3 shots in 1 hour or something like that. It was such a good time and very well timed because 5 months later, everything shut down due to a pandemic. You know, that was also around the time I got sick. As y'all know, I suffer from an undiagnosed health issue. And unfortunately, it would always remain undiagnosed because if it was and is gastroparesis, unfortunately, I will have to purposely make myself eat steaks or something for a short period of time in order for me to be diagnosed with anything. And that is trusting that they'll give the proper and right diagnosis. And doing so would risk destroying my mind and gut health all over again. And I just don't want to go through all of that again. So, yeah, so that's that. But because of the stay-at-home orders, I was actually able to hide a lot of my illness from the world. No one knew how bad it really got other than my daughter. I mean, she had to live through it all, of course. But I cannot stress how bad it really was. If I did not do something to reverse that gut issue, or whatever it was, I probably would be telling a different story here. Or maybe not even here to tell my story at all. I was not myself at all. I was erratic, irritated, hallucinative, if that's even a word. I couldn't remember anything. I couldn't retain any information. I would forget stuff literally within a matter of 60 seconds. Like I would say something and I don't even remember saying it. 2 minutes later, I was repeating the same question. It was like the symptoms, the signs and symptoms of early onset dementia. But I can't diagnose myself with that. But I really could not remember anything or much of anything. I can remember situations. I can't remember details. Still can't. I knew something was wrong and I was desperate for answers, only to be met up with doctors who dismissed every concern that I had. The stress only amplified everything. It exacerbated everything. Throughout this time, John continuously checked up on me. He would call me to see if I was okay. And I tried my best to push everyone away from me because I was just so embarrassed of my behavior. Yet I didn't have any control over it. For 2 years, I battled this sickness from start to finish. And it was until I completely changed my diet and healed my gut that I began the road to recovery. And John continued to check up on me. Even if it was just 1 or 2 times, he checked up on me to see if I was okay. I wasn't expecting everyone to check up on me every week. I mean, everybody had their things that they were going through. So I would never expect that. But he had no idea how much just those couple of phone calls. I don't even remember if he called me more than that. The text messages, I don't think he knew how much that meant to me. And it wasn't just him. The people that knew me, they knew I wasn't right. They knew I wasn't myself. John knew I was not myself and that I was just scared, fighting for my life. So, once I came to and reflected on that whole situation, I realized how blessed I was to have the love and support I had and still have. So back in 2022, the class of 2002 was set to have their 20-year reunion. And again, they graciously opened it up for other classes to join. Once again, I wasn't going to go. Hell no, I wasn't going to go. You serious? So he texted me to get my ticket and all of that. And I'll be honest, I ignored it. Not going. What? Why would I go? Nah. Mm-mm. Remember, during this time, I'm reflecting on what happened. I was still so embarrassed about so much of that. I don't excuse my behavior at all just because I was sick. There's no excuse. But even though I was legit embarrassed and didn't want to face the world, he still didn't let up. You see, the one thing about the South End is that news travels fast. You cannot fart without other people knowing about it. When something happens to someone, the gossip chain runs hot. I hear things about people I haven't seen since high school. I know about all their lives. Isn't that ridiculous? So I didn't want to face people. I didn't want to go, but he did not let up. And so when he noticed that I haven't responded, which isn't like me, by the way, and that I didn't register for a ticket, he called. He doesn't call often, but when he does, I never ignore his phone call. And I think he knows that. He's one of the people that when he calls, I pick up. Come hell or high water, I pick up. And when he got me on the phone and was adamant that I get a ticket, I told him I wasn't going. And when I told him that, he said the D word. He was like, I'm so disappointed. He said he wanted all his peoples to be there and that he's so disappointed. Oh my goodness. So after speaking to my therapist, and she and I agreed that going to the reunion would be good for me. So I registered for the event. And when I told him, he was elated. He was so happy. I was like, okay, yeah. Now, mind you, quite a few people expressed to me that I shouldn't have went. Like, I was getting all kinds of crap. Like, why would you go to that? I don't want anything to do with those people, and neither should you. You shouldn't be associated with the kinds of them, or whatever they said. I was getting all kinds of crap left and right. Like, I should be ashamed to be associated with the likes of those people. So many people who hated high school and didn't want anything to do with it. Let me tell y'all something. Those 4 years were the worst years of my life. I hated it too. Whenever people say, have you been arrested? Have you gone to jail or whatever it is? I say, yeah, it's called high school. I literally joke about that. It was 4 years high school. To me, that was a prison. So I hated it too. But what does that have to do with today? People telling me that certain people picked on them and this and that and all that. Ha 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 kiki. Hello? It's like they forget who they were talking to. Hello? I wasn't exactly the most popular girl in school. I wasn't exactly the prettiest or whatever it is. Hello? You kidding? This is Torellia. Hello? Do I have to remind y'all who I was? Gosh, in the social chain? Why in the world would you hold a grudge on someone from 20 to 25 years ago? That is so dumb. Grow up. They ain't even thinking about you. We were just kids. I'm not saying that it's an excuse, but we were knuckleheads at the time. They ain't thinking about you. I mean, come on. And if the same people are the same way as they were back in high school in our 40s today, okay, well then F them. Who said that you had to become best friends? You go to the reunion, you don't even have to associate with them. You can just say hello or not even say hello at all. That's the great part about having, the freedom of choice to a degree. So I went to the reunion because, for one, John said he wanted his peoples to go, and I obliged. Two, I wanted to celebrate the coming out of whatever it was I was going through for the past 2 years. It was like a celebration. I was celebrating life. And three, you never know when it will be the last time. You really just don't know. Oh, excuse me. I'm only 41, and we have buried far too many classmates dating back from elementary school than I like. Like, one is too many, but we've buried way too many, far too many. We never know when we're going to be able to do this again, or if we'll ever be able to do this again. And sure enough, at the reunion, John and Katoya announced that it would be their last reunion that they would ever throw. I went to John and I said that I was so glad I went because I just had a feeling that it would likely be the last time. I just had no idea that they literally officially said that it would be their last. So anyway, we had an after party set up at a hotel. John was pretty lit, I think. So I was literally feeding him some water to make sure he stayed hydrated. And I thanked him for not giving up on me and for dealing with my crazy during that time. And he said to me, hold on, I'm sorry. Hold on. Okay. He said to me, I'm going to try to get all this out. Okay. He said, we all have a little crazy in us. The important thing is that we stay together and be there for one another. We need each other. I never forgot those words. I'm sorry, y'all. I never forgot those words. John and I have always been cool. We have been friends for years before that. But after that, I knew that we would be bros for life. It wasn't even a question. He would not give up on me, and I would not give up on him. Come hell or high water, we would not give up on each other. So soon after that, that's when he went to Asia. I always checked for his photos, his videos, his Insta stories every single day. We kept in contact. The last conversation we had, he was in Philippines, Cebu, Philippines to be exact, which happens to be where my daughter's father was born and raised at. We actually had a trip planned to go there at the end of the year. And so our last conversation me and John had, no matter where he was, we were going to link up, whether it be in the Philippines or anywhere else in Asia. I would hop on a flight anywhere that he was, so that way we can link up, or vice versa. John wanted so badly for us Skyway folks or Rent and High folks to meet up and travel somewhere. He really wanted that, but everyone was too busy or couldn't afford it. Either way, it just never panned out. So we said that we were going to link up no matter what. This conversation happened in early or mid-December. I saw a video where he was walking the streets feeding homeless dogs. I was like, okay, that's so like him. Okay. The very last video I saw was the morning of Christmas Eve. He was waving in a village of children and on his way to go buy toys for over 70 of them. I saw this video. And I was wondering why I hadn't heard from him for a while when I got the news that he was suddenly fighting for his life and now he was on life support. Apparently, when he was on his way to buying Christmas toys for those kids, he collapsed. He suffered a tear in his heart. He needed, I believe, a heart bypass surgery. What made this complicated was that he was in a totally foreign country where they require an upfront payment for his care. Luckily, one of his best friends was actually there to help with the initial costs, while others worked the phones and started online campaigns to raise the capital so that we could save his life. I called my daughter's father and I pretty much said, please, please, we have to do something. If he knew anyone back in his homeland that was O blood type, please donate blood. Or if not, we need donations. We have to save this guy. We have to save my bro. My daughter's father went right to work and did everything else. That's one of the reasons why he's my best friend and my second favorite person in the world, next to our daughter, of course. I make one phone call and he takes care of the rest, especially when it's so important to me, Now, of course, he, did his homework on this guy. It doesn't really take much to realize that he's really just he's a legit dude. And he even said to me that he actually was acquainted with him. He's actually met this guy before. So he knew he was a really cool dude and he was worth all of, the effort to save his life. So John got what he needed for the surgery, and it was a success. And we sighed a breath of relief, but of course the battle's not over. It comes to recovery. But unfortunately, he passed away 3 days post-op. He didn't survive the recovery. He didn't have enough oxygen-rich blood flowing through, which in time causes infections, internal bleeding, and then eventually organ failure. The news about him spread quickly, and it even made the local news. That's how much of an impact he made in the community. And I think I can speak for all of us when I say that even though he didn't make it, it was well worth every effort trying to save him. It was worth it. He was worth it. And now the efforts to get him home are underway. His memorial is on March 8th. They wanted to give people time to make the arrangements so that as many people as possible can make it. It will be held at our old high school where it all started for most of us. It's so fitting. The whole thing is just amazing how they put all of this together. I just wish I could have been there for some of the things happening in honor of his memory, the vibe bingo and the candlelight vigil, etc. But it's not about me. This is about John and the imprint he left on this community. On a personal note, I want to say, when I first learned about his passing away, I was at work on a lunch break. I kept working that day, but I left early, of course, used my PTO. As a matter of fact, I left a little early every day that week because I was just having a hard time processing that I'll never hear from my bro again. When he passed away, somebody posted pictures of him and shared anecdotes and things like that. And I shared one story about how he got me to go to the reunion and all, but there's still so much to tell. I just didn't want to assert myself as like we were best friends or something. I didn't want the spotlight or to draw away any attention from him in any way. So I pretty much stayed out of the way. But I would be lying to y'all if I didn't say that this didn't hit me hard. He really was like a bro to me. He would always encourage me and remind me that I can do anything. And that is one of the huge motivating factors on why I don't give up. I never fold. Giving up has never been in my nature, but it really feels good to have an ally in your corner to remind you that you can do it. When I was going through that BS with my ex, he showed me how to just simply block his email. While that may not mean much, it gave me peace of mind, knowing that my severely abusive ex could never get through to me again. I changed my number, moved addresses. He never knew where I worked, but the one thing that was always reliable was the email. And John made sure that that was no longer an option. One of the 2 men that kept me in dope threads through Concept Plus Customs, even giving me a taste of what being in the clothing business entails. I actually told him that I will eventually get back to doing that. I mean, now we'll see moving forward, but well, we'll see. Guys, when I go to the Philippines, I want to finish what he started. He wanted those kids in that village to have a good Christmas. And I have every intention on helping him accomplish that. Yeah. Thank you, John. Thank you for being the amazing person that you were. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for being you. I will never forget the things you taught me, and I will keep going. It all continues. I also wanted to say rest in peace to O.C. Bell, who passed away last week. We also went to the same high school, but I would be honest, I didn't really know O.C. like that. I've seen him at mutual hangouts, and I can never forget that smile. Like, he had a smile that could light up a room. That's what I remember about him. And whenever we did come across each other, he would greet me like we've known each other forever. That's what I remember. It doesn't matter that I didn't personally know him. He's still community. And so it still affects me. Someone posted a picture of him and John at our first reunion. Remember that first reunion that I was talking about earlier? We lost 2 great men in a couple weeks to start off 2025. So that's why I haven't done a show in about 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, first of all, I'm not going to talk about my father's death when I'm in the middle of grieving the passing of a loved one now. That and just plain out of respect. So rest in peace to everyone that we grew up with. Rest in peace, O.C. Bell. Rest in peace, Jonathan Gant, aka Mr. Skyway. We always represent. It's Let Me Tell You with Lady T. Until next time. Bye, y'all.